All right, so welcome everyone. This is our mobility and flexibility class. So we'll go ahead and just start with some of our facial exercises. We'll cover stretches on the chair, standing, and on the floor. So let's just go ahead and start with our face. So let's open wide, open your mouth as wide as you can. Look up and then close your jaw by bringing your chin towards your nose. Feel a nice stretch along your neck. So let's do about 6 of those. Okay, very good. And then let's just go ahead and just gentle palpations throughout our face. I was out running with my friend yesterday, and about a mile into the run, I twisted my ankle pretty bad. And when it happened, I just hopped off it. It probably hurt for about 10 seconds, and then I just kind of forgot about it, kind of went numb. And then this morning I woke up, and let's go from the side of our eyes down to our side of our face. Now it's a little bit more tender, but perfect timing. I'm taking it easy this week anyways. So yeah, I'm not stressing too much about it. If I had a very demanding week of training or running or going camping, I'd be a little bit more stressed, but I'll let it take its course. Let's use the soft of our knuckles. Puff up your cheeks with air and just gently roll your knuckles into your cheeks. Keep that going a few more times. Very good. All right, let's go ahead and just inflate your cheeks with air and move that pocket of air left to right. Now up and down that upper lip and lower lip. Very good. All right, now we're gonna start with our neck stretches, okay? Oh, actually, inhale through your nose, make a little windpipe with your lips, and we're gonna exhale all of the air, bring it out through that little windpipe. So inhale, get it all out. Two more. Awesome. Very good. Now we'll start with our neck stretches. Okay. From here, let's go ahead and just look gently left to right. Up and down. Gentle neck circles. Switch directions. Here we're gonna look left. And I want you to apply a little bit of pressure with your hand. As you're looking left, push. Let's look right, apply pressure. Both of our hands over our head. Now elbows drop down. Sit on that left hand. Right hand comes over. Right elbow to the side. Drop that right elbow. Very good. Let's switch. Sit on that right hand. Drop. Very good. All right, let's bring that right arm across. Gentle stretch. And again, if you have any requests for muscle groups, we want to stretch a little bit longer, just go ahead and leave that on the chat. Just type in the muscle group, put your back, your neck, your legs, your hip. Let's go ahead and leave that on the chat. Switch. Very good. Right, let's go ahead and continue with our shoulders. So I'm gonna do some snow angels. Just bring your arms around. Very good. Let's do some shoulder circles. The shoulder circles are here. Shoulders up, forward, down, back, and repeat. Reverse. Very good. Right, right here we're gonna do our cat scratching pose. So sitting towards the front of our chair, reaching up, very top, all the way to the bottom, and come back, stretch, top, bottom, back, repeat. Do three more. Very good. Right, we're gonna be reaching up towards the ceiling. Just push, push, push. Laying right. Pitch. Very good. Awesome. Okay. Gonna go ahead and just continue between our elbows, our arms, and our shoulders. Okay, so palms, arms are at my side, palms are facing the camera, and then just opposite shoulder tap. Very good. Let's go ahead, right elbow up, and then drop that forearm. So the only thing moving should be your fist moving forward. Switch. So we're doing about 8 on each side. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, gonna go with the Arnold press motion. So elbows in front of you, separate, go as far back as you can. Very good. All right, and then now elbows at your side, hands up, palms are facing the screen, and a tricep press down. Very good. All right. Trunk rotation. So legs are facing forward. Grab a hold of your backrest and gently, slight turn. Be comfortable. Reach a little bit more. Deep breaths. Very good. Let's switch. Switch sides. Reach a little bit further. All right. Now we're going to go with our hips. Okay, so a little bit of hip opener. So right knee comes out and apply a little bit of pressure. So that left leg is pointing forward. Apply pressure. So yeah, tomorrow we have our cardio and core, no, aerobic interval training class. So tomorrow will be a little bit more upbeat, but I'll ask everyone at the start of class how we're feeling. I still kind of feel sore and I don't want to say lazy because I don't feel lazy. I just feel like it's not even my body. I just feel like it's my joints right now are like, give me a break. Switch. Good job. All right, let's work on our forearms and our wrists a little bit. So just allow your right wrist to surpass your right knee. Allow that to collapse. And we're going to try to raise it up, but our opposite hand is going to push down, working on that forearm. Okay. So we'll do 6 of those. So push down and let go for about 3 seconds and repeat. Ready? So push. 1, 2, 3. Relax. Repeat. 1, 2, 3. Relax. And 1, 2, 3. Relax. Relax that wrist. Push down. 1, 2, 3. Relax. 2 more. 1, 2. Relax. Last one. 1, 2. Good. We're gonna switch. Right. Left hand collapses. Right hand over it. Push. And begin. 1, 2, 3. Relax. Again. 1, 2, 3. Relax. Push down. 1, 2. Good. Halfway there. Push. Relax. Last one. Very good. All right, we're gonna use our hands to just make small little rotations. So little circles. Make sure there's no pain being caused. if any of these movements are causing pain, then just yeah, just kind of hang out or do a stretch that you prefer, because we don't want to do any movements that are causing pain. Right, so let's go counterclockwise. A little bit resistance on my right wrist when I do this motion. Left one seems smooth, the right one seems like there's some bumping going on in there. Okay, great. So now let's go. Fists are facing forward and then just up and down. Hey, Melinda, nice seeing you. Up and down. Then let's try doing up and down, but now kind of widen your fingers away from each other, so web them out. Okay, and then now I want you to focus on the right hand, one finger at a time. Bring this. So yeah, so I know we don't work on our hands too much. It's probably the one time out of the week where we actually focus on our hands and our fingers. So we'll try to spend a little bit more time. But if you've had, is anyone having trouble with their wrist or has had maybe some severe like wrist injury or finger injury, has some like residual uh, limitations of range of motion?
These help
Anyone?
me. I used to have really bad tendonitis, so I am so appreciative of these
Oh, okay,
hand exercises. Thank
good.
you.
All right. Yeah, yeah. Let's roll each knuckle and roll it towards the center. So each finger. Yeah, I back in college, being silly, one of my friends, I think I told the story. One of my roommates scared me. Um, and I was really close to this window and I wasn't paying attention. And he pressed his face up against it. And, it kind of looks a little bit off. So my reflex was to swing and try to like deflect. And I punched through the window, and I cut my pinky's second knuckle. So that one, I think I mentioned when I'm drinking a drink, it looks like I'm being fancy because my pinky kind of sticks out. Um, so yeah, so that one I have some limitations with range of motion. I think I damaged some tendon there. So let's web those out. Yeah, and the first thing I did, was go to the hospital, get stitches. It was like on a random Tuesday evening, and before they even helped me, the first thing the nurses did, since I was a college student, I think some type of like healthcare was provided to us. So, because I didn't have health insurance, only through the college, so web them out. So the first thing they did is did like an alcohol test on me to make sure that that I wasn't part of a fight or anything like that. And then once they like verified that, good, let's go with their left hand. They verified that there is no alcohol in my blood. Then they continued with the procedure. Which, yeah, at the moment I was like, oh man, like good thing, because who knows how severe things could have been. Um, so, anyways, yeah, that I got the two stitches. Um, took about
To
three
me,
weeks.
that's ridiculous. It doesn't matter if you're drunk or not. They should be providing you care. Do this procedure, then do the alcohol test.
Yeah,
That's so ridiculous.
this was
That's
yeah like
terrible. Oh my God, that makes
20
me mad.
like 2009 maybe. So yeah, I was just like, yeah, at the moment I was like, well, what if, like if I was at a party or something, but yeah, I don't know how that insurance was working at the time. Let's do each knuckle at a time?
Those tests are just routine in ER.
Oh, okay. Um, so yeah, so ever since then, it's just been limitations on that pinky, and when it gets cold, if anyone has had some type of surgery with a tendon, you probably know what I'm talking about. The tendons just tend to not act as fun or as nice when there's cold weather. Let's web out those fingers from each other. So now we're working on the tendons right there. So yeah. So now I'm just fancy when I'm holding a drink on my right hand. Uh, then my buddy was upset at me because he had little pieces of glass kind of penetrate his cheek a little bit, just or scratch him. And hey man, what the heck? Like you scared me. So talk about that. Very good. So another thing, like I mentioned, if you've had some injury on your wrist or your fingers, when I worked at a physical therapy office, something we would have is a bucket of rice. So we would have the folks kind of get their hand in the rice, like deep in there, and then while they have the hand inside, open their hand and close. So now as you're opening, you still have like the weight of the rice pushing against your hand. So that's also some good therapy too. So just keep that in mind. Okay. So let's go ahead. Right hand, right ankle on that left knee. Yeah, luckily I've never had any broken bones. Um, I've gotten stitches twice, once for my knuckle on my pinky, and then another 3 or 4 stitches on my Achilles tendon when I got spiked during a cross country race in high school. And then other than that, I guess big injuries or, you know, big stuff that caused me to take some time off were like I had a really bad sprained ankle, not from running, but from playing soccer, which I only did for 2 months out of my entire life where I was part of a team. A bad sprained ankle was pushed down, and then mainly it's just pulled muscles or some type of tendonitis. So, so I could say I'm lucky, but at the same time, that stuff happened to me so frequently where I felt like I was very injury prone. So I felt like every 3 to 4 months, to bring that knee up, I was bound to have some injury um, that was gonna influence my training for anywhere between 2 weeks to about 2 months. It was very annoying as a student athlete. Um, so I couldn't imagine how many injuries I would have now if I had that same training regimen. So sometimes I have a 5 hour drive and I feel like I need to take 3 days off because that was very taxing on my legs or something. Switch left ankle. So this is the ankle. Just bringing it up here right now. Kind of hurt. Um, yeah, yeah. Ran at the beach yesterday. Got sunburned. I think I was only at the beach for about 20 minutes, but I got a nice sunburn mark already. Let's push down. Bring that knee up. Alrighty, we're gonna sit towards the front of the chair, recline back. Okay, grab right under your knee, grab, and then lower leg extension. Lift that foot, drop that heel. Okay, let's switch. Okay, what comes up?
If I hear a popping noise, just like a little tick noise, is that bad?
I think we're twins. I think that's what that means. No, I I feel it every time. This is one of those movements where, um, I was gonna mention earlier when we were doing one of the shoulder movements. So just imagine, um, rubber bands being, your legs are relaxed and your tendons are rubber bands. So there's gonna be positions where if your legs are relaxed, there's not going to be any resistance because the rubber band is just kind of hovering over your muscles. So when you're bending, um, it's just kind of gliding through the joints. But there's moments where now imagine that rubber band being like on a pole that has like two joints that flex or bend. So now when those joints are bent, the rubber band is gonna be a little bit tighter around those joints. So now when you're introducing the movement, now there's gonna be some rubbing or some friction going on, and then sometimes just the tendons, the way they're aligned, is going to cause that rubbing. And usually, what you're hearing, that little pop, is usually the tendon gliding over a joint. So that's why sometimes you're like, well, I don't feel it when I do this, but then when I'm here and I do it, I might feel it, and that's because now this joint here has limited the tendon a little bit. So that's why it's good to I feel it a lot, or that happens a lot to me. Sorry, I'm just going off topic now, but I think we got both of them. It's when we do our shoulder stretches with the pull, I mean with the foam roller. So here it's fine, 30 degrees, it's fine. Then when I go at 60, it's always click, click, and it's just, there's just parts of our joints that the tendon's not gonna sit on perfectly every
Is
time. So
is it bad? Like, is it going to be like causing a tear if you're not careful? Like if you do it over and over and over again, like you're kind of like rubbing a rope against a rock or something like that?
yeah,
Or
no, I get what you're saying. I think if you if that continues to happen, there's also some movements to allow a little bit of separation from those joints, so there could be less friction going on. So I'm actually dealing with something like that with my left hip, where what I have to do, because I think I aggravated it doing a deadlift about 6 years ago. So now I think where if you folks know how the femur, which is this long bone here, attaches to the hip, it's almost like a hammer with a little golf ball at the end, and it goes into a little socket. So I think what I did when I did the deadlift, I think I was just being a gym bro, ego lifting, wanting to lift super heavy. So I think what happened is I did the lift, but during that, I'm not sure if like part of the tendon kind of slipped under that joint. So now there's times when I do squats where that area gets really inflamed. So the way to treat that now is to have a resistance band that's tied, let's say, to like an anchor on that side. The resistance band's going this way. And then now, as I'm stretching it, my femur is getting pulled that way while my hip is fixed. So it's creating a little bit of a gap. And when I do that, the pain on my hip does go away for a few days, but I'm just not disciplined with it. So once it feels good, and I think it's like most of us when we get sick, we're taking all these medicines and everything. So I'm being more reactive. So once it feels good, I stop doing them, and sure enough, about a week later, the pain, I think the tendon just kind of slips back under, and that continues. So, yeah, so I think as long as that movement that causes a popping isn't a movement that you're doing all the time, you should be fine because over time it's just going to slide away or kind of go back to the position where it prefers or it's kind of like falls into. But if it's something that, like if I'm constantly moving my shoulder joint at that 60-degree angle where I know it's going to be popping all the time, eventually I don't think it's gonna tear like you were saying, like a rock with the rope, but I think it will become tender and probably will get swollen before any tearing begins. So yeah, so I think that's kind of what actually happened to one of my clients. Her shoulder joint, I think, had it's supposed to be nice and round, but her shoulder joint just genetically um, had like a little I don't know if you've seen the potato rock in San Diego where it looks like it's like a thin rock that goes over like a cliff. But imagine like a little sheet of like bone going a little bit more than, and it shouldn't even be there. So, anyways, long story short, we were working out for 2+ years, and when you do bench press, you're doing that same motion. You're not really adjusting your shoulder position. So it took about 2 years for her to like really like figure out or realize that something didn't feel right. So she went to go get X-rayed or MRI, and it showed that she had uh, a bone, pretty much like a bone spur on her shoulder joint that she didn't have on her other side. And now we have to find modifications for that movement. So yeah, so like I was saying, sometimes it just takes a while, but you're not gonna realize that you have that issue unless you're doing that movement constantly, and then at some point it just causes some pain. So yeah, so I would just that's why it helps to like if you're doing things to do them at out different angles. Because like right now, this just popped. So yeah, sorry, I don't know if I answered your question or not, but yeah, we just want to make sure that we're
So there are
using our
modifications, essentially.
yeah,
That's the bottom line. Modifications.
exactly. Just modify a little adjustment. Uh, let's elevate this femur here, and we're just gonna this joint here, like again, the LCL and the MCL, there's going to be little room for movement, but we still want to promote that just in case we don't move laterally or if we're shuffling on our side. We don't want this joint to just become, pretty dry and immobile. Yeah, and it's hard to say, what movements to do to what joint because it also depends, what your joint looks like and what direction of your joint. But it's usually if there's something out of place, like my femur and my hip, I kind of have a pretty good idea myself what causes the pain, which is like a deep squat or sometimes hinging at my hip a lot. And when I do that frequently, so now I've really modified my leg workouts now. I don't do too many squats. Even it doesn't matter how heavy or how light it is. It's just the motion or the range of motion that the squat promotes that aggravates it. So let's go ahead on our heels. So heels up. So like for instance, like when we do this shoulder joint movement, it puts right here, essentially, we're just dropping opening and closing that elbow joint. And when we're here, we're also doing that elbow joint is pretty much doing the same thing, right? But the difference is the tendon's not being stretched out as much because it's being relaxed here at the shoulder. Whereas it's here, this tendon's being active and this muscle group's being activated. Um, so this one's a little bit more challenging or demanding on that elbow joint than it is here. So that's why we do two different ones. Um, yeah, there's always, yeah, like you said, there's modifications for everything. All right, feet are flat.
Julio, we're so lucky to have you because you're incredibly knowledgeable. Thank you.
It's I was just thinking yesterday, I was just like, I don't even know if I'm like good at this stuff. I just feel like I've been doing it for so long, and maybe it's a blessing that I've had so many injuries because I've had to like go through like the therapy stuff. Um, But yeah, no, it's like it helps, especially it's physical therapy. If you've ever gotten it and it's worked for you, um, like it's such a rewarding um career, and that's why I wanted to do it so bad because I was at how old was I? I was like 22. I had just gotten my degree and I didn't know how to apply things. And when my physical therapist doctor that I worked for would give me this workout routine and I would apply that to patients and let's do our ABCs, elevate. And now I'm like, all right, well, I just have to do this and they're supposed to get better, right? So I'm like, let's see. And sure enough, after 4 or 5 sessions, I'd see some folks that could barely walk comfortably, or every time they walked into the office had a look on their face of just excruciating pain. And you're like, oh man, I don't think I could help this person. Like, how am I going to help this person? And sure enough, it was just the exercises. And so, you just got to do them. And everyone has to be more proactive than reactive. But I remember I got mad at my friend once in college because this one, like Instagram was very early. And I remember it was one of my first posts, but I got really sick and I bought, I don't know, it was just like a cold, maybe turned into a fever. But I was really sick and I did a post of all the stuff I went to go buy from the pharmacy. Like I bought like Theraflu tea, vitamin C tablets, cough drops, you name it. Everything. Unity stuff. What's like those gummies, emergencies. Like I bought everything. Orange juice, and I just did this post, and it just looked like vitamin C overload. And on the comments, I remember I deleted the post because I was just like, I like, oh, this like smarty pants, like over here talking mess. So he was just like, at this point, like you're sick, like your body just needs to go through it. Like you got to have all those things before you get sick. And yeah, he was right. It's fun. Let's go ahead and get on our feet. So, um, being reactive will help sometimes, but by that point, it may be a little late. Um, to slow things down when it's been damaged. So that's why, I think I mentioned like this class and the Saturday class. Let's go left to right. So we're doing our shoulder work. I'll give you folks a few seconds. So let's actually take a minute. So we'll be done after the shoulder stretches. So let's take a minute, grab a pull, grab some water. Someone signed off. Just less screens. Oh, I think I know who it was. All right. So let's grab our foam roller or broomstick or whatever long item you have and start working on our shoulder. But yeah, as I was saying, I think we'd avoid a lot of injuries or a lot of headaches if we're just proactive instead of reactive. And yeah, let's work on that right shoulder. Let me know if you hear any popping. But yeah, I think like I was saying, this Wednesday class and Saturday class, I think during the summers, I do tend to be a little bit healthier, and I wouldn't be shocked if it's because these two classes. Um, but let's go 30 degrees. But in the spring and in the fall, since we only have this type of class once a week, I usually do feel a little bit more fatigued towards the weekend. Um, and to be honest, I don't do this stuff outside of these classes. Um, I do the resistance band for my hip only when my hips really hurts, but I might do it today. Um, so yeah, I just think if we're good
Julio,
with yes.
I'm so sorry to interrupt, but what's the purpose of using this a stick or the foam roller as opposed to just moving our arms?
So the idea is that the bottom hand is applying all the force for the movement, so that shoulder is just kind of being guided pretty much by this lower part of it. So if you're just here and you're just kind of doing this, then you're actually working out that shoulder joint. Whereas like if you're applying all the pressure on the bottom portion of the stick or the pole, it's just being guided by it. If that makes sense. So you're putting no effort with your right hand, whereas opposed if you're just kind of doing this motion, you're actually working. You're doing like a shoulder raise, and you're just being if the joint's just being stretched out, so there's no force being applied on the top shoulder. So 30 degrees or straight. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you very
Uh,
much for explaining.
yep. Yeah, my right now just by demonstrating my right shoulder just got a little sore. But yeah, so you're applying all the work on that hand that's on the bottom side. All right, and then let's go. So this arm should be relaxed, and then this arm here is the one working. So yeah, so you couldn't do this with a towel or just freehand, because that shoulder joint will actually be working. All right, let's work on that left shoulder. So now the right hand is pushing your stick, your foam roller, and that left shoulder is being stretched out. Let's go 30 degrees. And I'll post a video on the front page, the video we watched earlier. So you can always go back and look at that. I just slow down aging a little bit. $60. So this one just keeps popping. Yeah, I don't know if you can hear it. So this one popped right now. Let's go straight. I did 11 of them, and the first 7 or 8, they were popping. And then after that, it got a little bit quieter, and then it kind of went away. So sometimes it just needs to like slip out of that position. And that's let's go behind the back. That's also a reason why um, when you're using your back muscles, you want to be very careful where your neck or your eyes are looking, because when you're, especially if it's a very taxing um, movement that's causing a lot of demand from your back, and then you suddenly move your neck, you could easily sprain or strain a muscle that connects your neck to your back, which I've done multiple times. Usually happens when I'm lifting. Um, but yeah, that's why when things are under tension, you want to have really good form. You don't want to just struggle your way out. Let's go up. Usually this pops, but not popping today. All right. I think we're good for today. So an example that I was just mentioning, where you're using your back and it's under tension and you got to be careful. Let's just say you're picking up a heavy object. Maybe it's like I don't know, like a 24 pack of like Gatorades from the floor. So let's say you're here. First of all, when we pick things up, you don't want to round here. You come up, you want to squat down, pick up the object, and then let's say you're here and now you're stuck and you're like, oh shoot, like I forget where to put this. So what I would do, to be honest, I would just put it down, find the spot where you're actually gonna put it, because now you're gonna go here and like, oh, on my left side, and then put it here. But if you're picking the object up, you come up here and then you turn your head to start looking. Right now, your back is under tension, and that turning of your head could aggravate that back muscle. So I've hurt my back doing that similar motion. So just keep that in mind, especially if you have history with that muscle group. You want to make sure that yeah, we stay as healthy as we can. So just little things like that. I think one time, this was like right when COVID was starting, and I was lifting with my cousin who's a lot stronger and bigger than I am. So we're doing bench press right here. We're doing bench. And, I'm struggling by the last few. And I'm going and I'm just looking up and I'm slowing down. And I'm like, hey, man, help me. I need help. And he's like, no, come on, you got it. So I went like this. And for my safety, I started looking around to where the bar was so I could drop the barbell I was lifting. So as I was lifting, I was pushing, my back is activated, my shoulders activated, everything's pretty tense. And I turn to my right to see if I'm like placing it on the right spot. And that little turn to my right strain this part of my neck, or this side. Yeah, it's the opposite side. So and then after that, I was just whenever I had to turn and look, it was just I couldn't look like this. It was always like, if someone called me on my right side, I had to like turn my full body. Um, so yeah, so just don't be careful when you're using, especially your back under tension. So be very careful with that stuff. But any questions before we head out?
No, thank you for all the explanation today. It's really very, good. Just to be
Yeah,
taking care
Very
of,
helpful.
little things at a time.
yeah. Sorry if I talk a lot. I tend to do that.
No,
So
that's fine. Because those things like
Very good.
the question about the with the foam roller, I always do that, but I just wonder why. But now today I
yeah.
have the
So yeah,
answer.
so I mean just quick, if you're holding, imagine an invisible foam roller here and you're doing this motion, like you'll feel that this shoulder will
Yeah.
start getting a little bit tired. So that's why I also when we're doing the stretches here and here, there's so many shoulder stretches I like to break up, because after a while, I don't know, I don't think I'm the only one, but that shoulder joints does become tender and sore. So yeah, it's just the bottom hand is what's pushing. So this one's just being guided and it's just being stretched. But if you're lifting this on its own, after a while, this is gonna become tender because you're actually using this as a power unit. Whereas you're holding the bar and pushing here, your power unit's gonna be from this side. So.
I never knew that, and I thank you for explaining because I was using both pretty much equally. And now
Oh,
I
okay.
know to use the bottom
Yeah.
hand, so I really appreciate it.
I
I
should
really
do a
love your
better.
explanations. It's very
Okay.
helpful. Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah. It just, of course. So yeah. Sorry if I just assumed most of you have been with me and I repeated myself, but yeah, I think we always have new folks, and sometimes yeah, it's just one of those things. So
Thank you.
anyway,
Thank you.
enjoy your.
Bye, Julio. Have a good day.
All right, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye.
Get good sleep.